Hey everybody, and welcome to the weekly Reroll, the show where we recap everything that happened this week in D&D, at least in the Twitch D&D shows. We cover 6 shows. We cover Roleplay Solemn, we cover Roleplay Eban, we cover Misclicks, we cover Dicing with Death, we cover Roleplay R&D, and we cover Roleplay Dark Heresy when it happens, which is almost never. So it's really just 5 shows and then sometimes Dark Heresy. If you have a D&D show that you do on Twitch that has like a bajillion viewers, I would be happy to cover it as well, but we can't cover each and every little individual show, so we just pick the ones with the that have like 1K viewers. So if you have a D&D show that has 1K viewers and you would like it to be on the weekly reroll, let me know and I'll put it up there. Without further ado, let's hop into Roleplay Solemn. By the way, if you don't know, this will have heavy spoilers. In fact, I'm spoiling everything, so you can mute the audio while the overlay is up for whatever show you don't want to hear, or you can not watch, as you please. Anyway, hopping into Roleplay Solemn. This would be Season 2, Episode 4, so to speak, as much as we can make these things into seasons and episodes. So it starts with the party hanging out with Lord Stonecup while the king of the horse lords of that area came and chatted with them, gave them some stuff, blah, 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 blah. They're just killing some time while the Boule shield finishes making. Jockrey talks to Lord Stonecup, gets a deal where he can like make some poultices in his kitchen. And in exchange, he'll like give one to the cook or the maid or something like that. Anyway, so Jockrey just kicks it, makes some more poultices. Victarion goes and talks to Carla, says, hey, Carla, you really need to be seen out and about doing things because people are starting to ask questions, and they're pretty nice about it, but you still need to be seen because everyone's worried, why is this one girl hiding in the bedroom all the time? Anyway, after Victarion gets Carla to go, and after Jockrey makes his poultices, the party heads off north through the hills, over the mountain, or around the mountain, towards Cinderfall. And it's a very boring journey and nothing happens whatsoever. So let's hop right into Cinderfall. As the party arrives in Cinderfall, they're kind of greeted by the townspeople, but the townspeople aren't very happy. They've got like, what do you call them, pitchforks and shovels, and they're glaring at the party. They're not menacing, but they're definitely giving the party these weird looks. After talking to one of the guys, it appears that there have been some murders in town as of late. The bodies were found with their throats and other vital organs like ripped out as if by some beast. The animal size is really hard to tell. The party can't tell if it's like a dog or a bear or something in between, but it's definitely some sort of animal has been like shredding people. Usually at night, but not always at night. Sometimes during the day, man, woman, child, all sorts of people have been killed. Victarion offers to help, but it seems that everything he's suggesting the peasants have already kind of done. They've got nightly patrols going on. They're all being pretty careful. They're locking their doors at night. Blah 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 blah. Victarion's off, starting to suggest a curfew, but it doesn't go too well. He botches a charisma check, and the town really just doesn't like the idea of an enforced curfew. Like, you're adults, you don't need a curfew. They're pretty grumpy about it. Anyway, they talk to a man whose name is Card, and his cousin had been murdered, and they get to know him a little bit better. He helps them call the town meeting where Victarion suggests a curfew, and the town says no. Card tells Victarion, you know what, sleep on it. Maybe they'll think better in the morning. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, Jockrey, during this town meeting, suggests, hey, let's build a fence around the entire town. That way we can keep whatever these beasts are out. And then the town politely reminds Jockrey that the town is fairly large and they're in the middle of these open plains and there's really no trees about. Like, you can find trees, but you have to go. It would take months or years to build a fence around the entire town. So that idea gets chucked right out. Eventually the party's like, you know what, screw it, we'll just sleep on it, like Card said. Largo, before going to bed, decides to set up some sort of traps. And after playing with the different types of traps and trying to learn a little bit more about his set snares proficiency, he decides to set a crossbow trap in Carla's room. And then he also spends the night in Carla's room. The rest of the party all spends the night in the same bedroom together. The entire party is wakened in the middle of the night, conveniently. Actually, I mean, it's not like DM conveniently, but just like, damn it, Largo, why you always got to go ruin my plans? Anyway, they're all woken in the middle of the night because the trap that Largo set goes off, and they are woken. Largo looks up, sees this wolf man with a crossbow bolt in his chest. Wolfman takes off, runs down the stairs and out of the inn. Jockrey chases right after him while the rest of the party puts on all their equipment and heads out into the night. The innkeeper, who's downstairs, is freaking out. He's like, "Oh my god, did you see it? It went that way!" and points out the door. Party runs outside but doesn't see it anywhere. Jockrey uses a spell that he just randomly had memorized called Speak with Animals, and he talks to the horses, and like, "Horses, did you see a strange person go somewhere?" And the horse is like, "Oh yeah, we totally saw some guy go into this alleyway." I mean, they don't say it like that. They're horses, you know? Come on. Horses don't sound like that. And the horses also give Jockrey some shit for, not giving them enough apples or carrots. And there's a small bit of dialogue in the middle of the chase scene where Jockrey's like, "Yeah, I'll totally feed you apples from now on. That's totally cool. Yeah, right on." Anyway, they chase the Wolfman into the alleyway. And they see him standing in the alleyway ripping this bolt out of his chest. A battle ensues. The Wolfman leaps at Jockrey, like double crits Jockrey, almost kills him, takes this like giant slash and bite out of his throat, and the battle ensues. The party does they double crit all the time. They do just ridiculous amounts of damage, and after a little while they realize that, holy shit, this guy is healing just as fast as we're doing damage to him. Like, these weapons are not hurting him at all. The party gets the idea, you know what? It's probably a werewolf. And we probably need silver weapons to kill it. Shit. But the werewolf, the party thinks it's a werewolf at least, can still feel pain, even if he's not dying. So after the party is double critting him, breaking his legs, which repair instantly, he still feels pain, and he's surrounded by these creatures. So he books it. The party, makes some called shots at his legs to disable him. They slow him down to like a bear, like a crawl. His legs are healing, but they're critically him so frequently that he can't move. And then Victorian gets this bright idea. God damn it, Victorian. I love you for this, and I hate you for this. Where he grabs some silver coins out of his pocket, puts them on. Oh, no. First, Alice, one-armed Alice, decides to wrestle. That's right, wrestle the wolfman creature. And she rolls amazingly on her strength check, and he rolls poorly on his strength check. So one-armed Alice tackles the werewolf, wrestles it to the ground, while Victorian Black puts a silver coin on the werewolf's head and takes his blacksmith's hammer and just beats the silver coin into the werewolf's head. And so they kill the werewolf by beating silver coins into its head. Yeah. Werewolf dies. The party rests up, tells the town what happened, oh, hey, this was the issue, it was a werewolf, blah, 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 we found him and killed him. The town buries him. And while part of the town, a very, very small part of the town, is off burying the werewolf, Jockrey, in the middle of the streets, decides to summon the spirit of her grandfather and have a chat with him. So she talks to her grandfather about, hey, if this was a werewolf and I was bitten, am I going to turn into his werewolf? And the grandfather's like, yeah, I heard about that shit, but I don't really know, because it's just the spirit of her grandfather. She's a summon, she can do that stuff, but it's still just, a spirit of her grandfather. He wasn't a werewolf specialist anyway. Also, interesting things to note, the innkeeper watched the entire fight, including when Jockrey cast Cure Serious Wounds, or Cure Moderate Wounds on himself to heal himself, and tried to summon a Dust Devil. And many, many, many people in town saw Jockrey performing an elaborate dance for 50 minutes. 50 minutes, that's 10 minutes shy of an hour in the middle of town, and then started talking to an invisible person that no one else could see. So that's interesting. Maybe that'll come bite them in the butt sometime. We'll see. Anyway, that's it for this week in Roleplay Solemn, and let's hop right into Roleplay Eban. If you don't want spoilers for Roleplay Eban, now is the time to close your ears. Roleplay Eban, Season 2, Episode 4. As far as you can make seasons and episodes out of these things. Now, I didn't have time to actually write down any notes for this, so we're going to kind of have to do this off the top of my head from what I remember. So, what did we do this week? This week, we ended at the top of the hill where Rich got his face burned off, and they killed the Minotaur. So we start the campaign. 3 days later, Rich has been tended to and taken care of, and is back to full HP. Magic regenerating ring, yeah. And the rest of the party has kind of walked around town and done some boring stuff. Nothing really of that much of note, except for Ricardo, who went back to talk to the wizard to see if he could get some better wizard stuff. He wanted to trade with the wizard, and then he ended up getting himself into a bad position. The wizard offered him something for 600. Then Ricardo was like, no, no, no. What about this other thing? And the wizard's like, no, I don't want that. And Ricardo's like, fine, I'll take the 800 deal. And the wizard's like, all right, sure, you can totally pay 800 for that. Ricardo even makes him swear on his wizard's pride or wizard's honor or something like that, that he'll keep the price for 800 for him. And the wizard's like, yeah, totally, I'll sell it to you for 800, even though he had already offered it to 600. So Ricardo botched a little bit there, but it's fine. It's fine. The party, once they fully come to, Rich comes to, and everyone gets all back together, we all head up to the abandoned house that we burned down to see what the fuck is going on in here, man. What's going on? So we head down into this tunnel, the gate to hell, as Ricardo had put it earlier, and lo and behold, we find a whole bunch of people who seemingly killed themselves. And there's this door frame in the middle of a room with, it's just an open door frame. There's no door in it. And there's this weird lightning burst. It's not really lightning burst, but flashes of light emanating from the center of it. Rich takes his one of his magic throwing axes, chucks it through the entrance, and it disappears. And so Rich is like, all right, I'm just going to go see what's going on in here. And he starts walking through. What's her name? Riley puts a hand on him to stop him, but Rich, she's like, wait a minute. And Rich is like, fuck that, I'm going through here. So Rich just goes through. Largo says something along the lines of, wait, hold on, not yet. But again, Rich is just like, whatever. I want to see what's in here. So he walks through. Largo did not say that he had an augury spell, which would let us know what happens if you walk through it. Because when he casts that spell, he learns that if you walk through that portal, you will die. And we take the first break or the second break or something where Rich walks through a portal and JP's like, all right, you're dead. Wasn't quite dead. Actually I don't really know where, to be honest. But Rich kind of he found himself suspended in perpetual blackness with no up, no down, no left, no right, no forward, no back. He's not standing on anything. If he drops something, it will just fall endlessly beneath him. Sort of mysterious place. And Rich imagines his family, his mom, his wife, his newborn child, his dog, and instantly he opens his eyes and he's there. His wife's there. Rich is totally fine. His face is fine. His knee is fine. He's wearing his normal clothes. He doesn't have any weapons. His wife is acting totally normal. Rich is kind of freaked out. So he imagines himself... Oh, no. I'm sorry. I forgot one important detail here. When Rich threw the hand axe through the portal, a voice came through the portal saying, what do you want? Or something like that. I don't remember what exactly. So... Now Rich, realizing that if he thinks about something, he can go there, maybe, tries to think of the voice that called to him. And he appears in this room. There's this throne, and there's this weird guy sitting on top of the throne. And now there have been some rumors about blood gods. So Rich is like, holy shit, is this the blood god? And goes up to the blood god. And at this point, Neil and JP... have a side conversation that the rest of the party doesn't hear, literally doesn't hear. We type it out to one another for a little bit. And then Rich proceeds to say a few things that are interesting. He says something along the lines of, well, all your other servants suck, or, they've all failed, something like that. Which the party doesn't hear, but was said aloud. And a few more things are exchanged. And all of a sudden, Rich pops out through the portal, through the portal, and the party's like, whoa, where the fuck did you go? And Rich is like, I just tricked the blood god. I totally told him I was going to be my servant, or I was going to be his servant, but really he has no reach out here, so fuck you, Blood God. Ha 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 ha. I totally tricked you and screwed you, and now I'm back alive again. So Rich is happy and celebrating life because he screwed the Blood God over. And the rest of the party kind of metagames it, but not really. It's whatever. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not actually bummed in the slightest. And they're all like a little suspicious of Rich. What did you do? How did you get back? Oh, you said you made yourself a servant to the blood god? I'm like, yeah, but it was just some words. Then he poured some blood on my face. You know, it was just words. It didn't mean anything. And the party's kind of cautious and curious about this. So they destroy the frame of the portal, and the party decides to figure out like where the rest of these tunnels go underneath. Meanwhile, Largo Silverheart stays behind just in case something comes back out of the portal. But before the party can go anywhere, Rich walks through the portal again. Except this Rich has like a normal face and no injured knee. He's like, "Hey, who are you guys? What are you doing here? I don't know you guys." And so the entire party fights this, what the party refers to as Perfect Rich, and destroys him pretty easily. And as soon as he dies, he and everything on him turns into like blood and falls to the ground. Party's kind of freaked out by this. They're really freaked out by this. So that's why Largo decides to stay behind, because no one trusts Rich to stay behind by himself. So Rich takes the other members of the party, and they follow through some tunnels that lead out in the middle of town, which is why we saw smoke rising through the middle of town. Makes sense. We go back to Largo, who has uncovered that the floor of the area is actually stone. Rich moves some more dirt and sand out of the way, and turns out there's writing all over the floor. Rich can't read, but Largo takes detailed notes about what the writing is, or at least he starts to, and then realizes that there's so much writing on the ground that he won't be able to take detailed notes of it. Ooh, I am shaking that camera. So after figuring out, trying to figure out what's going on here, the party decides to go talk to the wizard again. Because Ricardo remembered reading something about blood gods in his notes. Party goes back to the wizard, starts to talk to him. Something's fucking janky up here. Ricardo goes upstairs to talk to him alone, and then a battle ensues. Rich and Largo go to fight him. Meanwhile, Riley is back at the underground area where the portal was, because they want to keep someone on guard there. A battle ensues, and we kill the wizard, who then turns just into blood and everything on him. And we're like, holy fucking shit, the wizard's been working with this blood god all along. So we loot his entire shop, and then we run out the door. Right as we're running out the door, some guards show up and chase us back in. They knock us down. Ricardo casts Wall of Fog, which just obscures everything and makes everything really confusing. Eventually, we are apprehended. We're forced to give everything back, but Rich steals 5 magic rings. Yes, he steals 5 rings. We talk to this guy. Turns out that no, one's the real one, or no, the real shopkeeper shows up, and or at least the party's convinced that he's the real shopkeeper, and he gets all of his stuff back except for the 5 rings that Rich stole, and then the party goes back to the tavern, and Rich divvies up magic rings between everyone because he's already got one of his own. So he takes 1, and Largo takes 2, and Ricardo takes 2, and Riley says, magic rings are stupid. I don't want anything to do with those, so Riley doesn't take them. And that's where we left off with Roleplay Eban this week. Ooh, I am so tired. Lovely. Let's hop into Misclicks D&D Pirate Edition, or whatever you want to call it. Now, Misclicks. The party, with Tyrant, now also known as Jeff, in tow, travels to Northall and then by foot north to Stone Gulch. They take 3 members of the crew with them to fight, leaving the rest of the crew members to stay aboard ships. That way the ship can be actually steered and navigated if they have to leave port for whatever reason. On the way, they learn that Tyrant loves to eat grass, and they get they start poking at his history, and he gets a little bit touchy. They're like, "Are you a cow?" He's like, "No, I'm not a cow. My parents were minotaurs, but we're descendant from cows." And everyone's a little bit confused about what's going on, but it was quite funny. In fact, it was hilarious, and you should totally watch that if you're into Misclicks or just funny things in general. They also run into a pack of female halflings who are like the rudest, meanest bitches in the entire world, and they steal 40 gold from a couple of members of the party. So it's bad. Lily tries to make friends, but these halfling women are just awful, awful, awful people. Yeah, and it's sad. Anyway, the party, after dealing with the stuff, there's a lot of role playing going on in this episode. Keeps heading north towards Stone Gulch, and eventually encounters this Displacer Beast. Now, the Displacer Beast is a fearsome foe because it's never exactly where you think it is. Also, it does 2 attacks which do pretty good damage, and they've got high AC, pretty good penalty bonus to hit. They're strong creatures. The party fights them and eventually manages to kill them. And some of the party members take certain part. No, it's just Lily. Lily takes like a big scrap of hide from one of the Displacer Beasts because she knows it's worth something. Meanwhile, 2 of their crew members are badly injured in this battle. And Faye and December put them on their horses and ride them to the next town, which I believe is called Sithram, and leave them in the care of a healer. Tyrant and Lily show up eventually, as well as the 3rd member of the crew. And together they all head to Stone Gulch. When they get to Stone Gulch, they find out that it's a mining town and a pretty dedicated one. There's not anything else around except for the miners and a few bars, and that's about it. Like, there's not even proper shops. A lot of stuff just gets imported through some traveling traders, merchants, and whatnot. The party, after getting a feel for the town and kind of asking some questions that get them looked at funny. In fact, they say that they're an envoy from the captain who they found this note from, but no one knows who the fuck that captain is. They get some strange looks. I don't want to say they make enemies, but they definitely don't make friends. And then they head towards the mines. They look about. There's the main mine shafts, and there's this other road that leads way around the side of the mountain. So the party decides to follow it, and they see some miners entering a second this other shaft that's way far away from everything else, like 2.5 miles away from everything else. The party's like, damn, this might be the place. This is further away from everything. Looks a little not really secret, but holy crap, what the hell's that? And they look, and there's another path. This one's clearly overgrown with weeds and hasn't been used in some time. And the party's like, no, let's keep looking around this mountain. What else could be here? And they come across a boarded up mine shaft that is locked, and it's clearly meant to be like, don't come into this mine shaft sort of thing. The party decides that to quote the party, or to paraphrase the party, in the Neelaverse, the mine shaft that's boarded up is the one that has the treasure in it. So let's go into there. Wildly metagaming. Wildly metagaming. But you know what? That's fine. We let them metagame. So be it. It's okay. We're all here to have fun, and the party was having fun at the time, so no one mentioned it. It was fine. They start going down and down and down this mine shaft and start looking around. They come across a gelatinous cube, which is actually one of the components Faye needs to cure her brother. So they slay the gelatinous cube, although it was pretty close. It actually kills one of their party members. By one of their party members, I mean the one sailor that they had with them. He's dead now, like Deadsy's dead. The party goes back up, buries him, crashes in the town for a night, comes back with more torches and lanterns and whatnot to make sure there's no more gelatinous cubes. And they search the caves a little bit further. Eventually, they come across this red moss or lichen or mold or something like that. It's kind of reddish, brownish, rusty colored. And as Faye walks up to it, she takes a shit ton of damage. Like, it absorbs the heat from her body, and she's left badly wounded. Meanwhile, this moss, this mold, like, grows and covers the walls a little bit more. The party not sure what to do. They back up for surezies, and then they're debating whether or not to throw like fire into it, like cast a burning hand spell, or maybe throw a torch at it, try and burn it off. Someone's like, "Hey, wait a minute! It just sucked all the heat out of you and then grew a bunch. Maybe we shouldn't throw fire at it." And the party's like, "All right, fuck this route. We're going a different way." And the party goes a different way. Well, lo and behold, the party comes face to face with a 25-foot long, red and black banded snake with a human head, long, wispy, greasy, patchy, oily hair, lidless eyes, but it's, it's a otherwise, other than that, it's like a 25-foot red and black banded snake. It's pretty terrifying. And we end on a cliffhanger there with the party being like, oh. So that was Misclicks for this week. Now, woo! Dicing with Death. I've actually been up since we played Dicing with Death, which was yesterday at 2 p.m. It is currently 1:30 p.m. It has been 11 and a half hours that I have been streaming straight. Literally streaming straight. The only time I haven't been streaming is when I took down the overlay, took down the stream to bring up this show. So I don't know why that was key. It actually has absolutely nothing to do with D&D. But this is what happens when you haven't slept in a while. You make bad decisions. Anyway, Dicing with Death. Beryl, Ryan's character, is running around looking for stuff. No, not looking for stuff. He's getting into trouble. He has been he's been trying to figure out what's been going on with the Rothschilds and the Francises, right? And we left last week with him having just killed the thief, or knocked out the thief who was trying to steal from him. So the next morning he goes to his cousin's house, hangs out with his cousin for a little while, talks to Captain Humbersnatch again, finds out that the guy died in prison, like he just didn't survive, his wounds were too bad. And a lot of boring roleplay, I wouldn't say boring, but subtle stuff happens. A lot of things happen, but it's not really like major plot points. They're all like small things here and there. Lots of little small things all over the place, add up to a bigger picture that is really nice. Anyway, so Beryl decides to head a little bit more eastward. He's getting kind of tired of waiting around and doing nothing. And while he's traveling eastward in search of these brigands to kill, just because he's bored and wants to kill some brigands, he comes across the cart whose sigil he recognizes as the sigil that was being unloaded into the warehouse. What the fuck? So he investigates it. He follows it around, notices that they unload some very heavy boxes, and then they move the cart away. Just take it away somewhere normal. And he's like, all right, I'm going to follow this cart. So the next morning he gets up early and heads out of town and waits for the cart. And the cart leaves, and so he follows behind the cart and eventually passes it up and gets into back to the place where he was staying, Holy City, Emberstone. No, damn it, I forget the city's name. Anyway, he gets back to his cousin's city, and then plans an ambush for the cart. Well, the cart doesn't show up that day. Beryl was on a horseback. He gets there much faster than the cart gets pulled. So the next day he waits outside and follows the cart in as it comes in. It goes straight to the warehouse, and Beryl's like, all right, I got this time. I know what I'm going to do. So he goes and knocks on he opens the back door of the warehouse, that entrance that came from Mr. So-and-so, who works for Francis's. I'm blanking on his name right now. Anyway, so he opens the door, and immediately 2 bodyguards and Frankel, the elf, chase after him. Beryl runs all the way around to the front, goes through the front door, and tries to open the inner door to get into the warehouse. So basically, he comes from this way, catches their attention, they chase him, he runs out, and then tries to run to the front, so while they're chasing him, he can get into the front door. Fairly clever, interesting. Unfortunately, the front door is open, but the inner door is locked. And he tries to jump out the window as they come into the door, but he fails his dex check, fucks up, and fights these guys. Eventually, after taking out 2 of them, 1 or 2 of them, he gets knocked unconscious. He awakens in a normal, everyday dungeon, and the person whose name I'm blanking on, I would really have liked to have written this down, for him, there's some talk. The guy's like, well, you're getting in the way of our plans. can't have you bothering things. We'll find a nice peaceful way for you, you know, we'll kill you here, we'll make it look like you died somehow else, somewhere else. And Beryl realizes that the Francises might have been the bad guys all along. Beryl tries his best to escape, but he's in shackles. He has no weapon. He's actually entirely naked. And after trying to like swing his chains at his captor, the captor just grabs the crossbow and shoots him until he dies. Beryl is dead. Then I rolled a character. In fact, I rolled stats 3 times, and my stats were so mediocre. The first 2 times they were just the worst. They were the most mediocre stats in the world. So the third time I rolled stats, like, all right, roll stats. They're going to be amazing. Whatever they are, we're going to keep them. And I rolled a 6 for Constitution and a 5 for Intelligence and a 10 for Dexterity and a 14 for Willpower and an 8 for Strength and a 11 for Perception. Anyway, they were bad stats. They were awful stats. So I make Desmond the Dashing a rogue who is none too bright but still kind of eager and energetic and whatnot. Desmond the Dashing lasts all of 45 minutes before he's dead. So Ryan makes a new character. So Ryan and I roll dice to see who's going to DM. It turns out that Ryan's going to make a character, so he's going to make an evil. He has made an evil dwarf cleric fighter. And we haven't really worked out too many of the details, but we figured out where he's going to be. We haven't started the campaign yet. That will start fresh and new on this upcoming Sunday. But that's what's happening with Dicing with Death. Ryan's got himself a brand new character, and it's going to be pretty sweet. I'm excited for it. We're starting out in this cool desert called the Cooling Sands Desert. He starts at Sands Gate. You can check the roleplay map for it if you want. Yeah. And that is that for Dicing with Death. 2 character deaths in 1 week. Wow. And let's move on to Roleplay R&D. If you do not want Roleplay R&D spoilers, you should plug your ears currently. Now, I'm going to read these notes, guys, okay? You ready? Here we go. Week 5, Rock, also known as JP, the Paladin, does some recruiting and gets 3 Itogus. They wield scimitar. They have hide armor. They are warrior 2, protector 2, loyalty 0. They cost 5 money. Cost money, 5 gold sign-on bonus as well. Gets 3 Wogi. Quellum, skills warrior. Wait. JP the Paladin does some recruiting and gets 3 Iwogi. Quellum. Okay, I guess, 3 Itogi are these 3 creatures. He gets Quellum, who must be an individual person who's got skills, warrior 3, loyalty 1, cost debauchery. Thrash, skills, adept 1, minstrel 1, loyalty 2, cost fame and glory. Heum, weapon, halberd, skills, adept 2, burglar 2, loyalty 0, costs money 5 gold sign on bonus as well. Radius, weapon, table, shield, skill, tracker 3, protector 1, loyalty 0, cost money 5 gold sign on bonus as well. Anyway, Lord Women sings a song in the center of town trying to get some money. The song was so amazing, Stephen gave him an auto plus 10 plus without having to roll. Gentleman comes up and introduces himself as Tortilla, a jeweler and collector of arcane artifacts. He offers appraisal 50% discount when they ask him to steal a pearl and ruby necklace that he sold but wants back, in which Lord Wim calls Lobelia over, and we find out Tortilla hates women, so she gives Lord Women a huge flawless sapphire, and he gets it appraised, selling it for 125 coin. Lobelia tries to pickpocket but fails, but doesn't get caught. Lord Wim finds out that there are 3 distinct portions to Catharsis lair, which are the goblin mines, temple to an ancient god, and ancient library known as Fenn's laboratory. The druid transforms into a black crow and steals a striking seal, lights a candle, puts it on a wooden windowsill, turns into a cat, gets the window open, tries to pick up the candle, cuts it into pieces with his claws, and then goes crazy by by instinct and attacks a rat he sees in the alleyway. He is in, but gets hurt, but kills it, then sees the windowsill and curtains set ablaze and leaves. A third of the wealthy district of town gets burned down. Let's just read that again. The druid transforms into a black crow and steals the striking seal, lights a candle, puts it on a wooden windowsill, and turns into a cat to try and get the window open. Turns into a cat, gets the window open, tries to pick up the candle, accidentally cuts it into pieces with the claws, and then goes crazy by instinct because there was a rat, and he goes to attack the rat. And he kills the rat, but then when he looks back, he sees the windowsill and the curtains are on fire, and he leaves, and half the town burns down. Well, half of the wealthy districts burn down. Pretty fucking crazy for whatever druid transforming into a black crow was supposed to be about. Lobelia takes it on her own to steal the necklace and gets 100 coin from it. Lobelia buys a dagger named Nightblack that's supposed to turn the user invisible if they stab themselves with it. Sounds awful. I would not risk that. They travel back to the waterfall entrance, but inside are a bunch of lava-like creatures, which take a while, but they finally kill them with no one dying. They proceed to look around at the crack and see some frozen revenants, kill one with a big rock and Irolo loosened from the top of a crag, and Irolo turned into a great hawk to get higher up to help Rock. The party decide to rest before going down the hallway, where Lobelia finds a trap and disarms it sort of before Rock decides that he wants the axe a statue is holding. Oh, the axe a statue is holding, pulls it up and slams it down, but only takes a little damage before the entire floor unhinges and everyone but Lobelia and Helium slide all the way down into the complete darkness. Irolo loses his weapon, but latches on top of a ledge and pulls himself up. Irolo turns into a hawk with very good eyesight and flies down and sees in the darkness a glass wall behind his allies and sees through the glass with some viscous black liquid and silvery veins threading through it. And also sees a hammer right above the party as if he were to be hit. As if it fell, they would be hit by it. That's where they end. Interesting. Very interesting. I hope that made sense to you guys, because I'm just kind of talking. I'm reading what's on the page, and to me it makes no sense whatsoever, but I hope it makes sense to you. Meanwhile, for Roleplay Dark Heresy, there was no show this week. So there's no show this week for Roleplay Dark Heresy, but that's okay. It's okay. And that is it. That's it, I think. Yeah, that's it for the weekly reroll. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoy doing this. I think it's a great show, and I firmly believe in it. Stick around. We have some cartography, followed by some behind the screen coming up. And that'll be that. Good luck, have fun, and may the dice always roll in your favor.